So, hello everyone.
Hello.
Everybody's ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, hello and a hearty welcome to each and every one of you for joining us for this enriching webinar. So, it is UPSC Success and Insights and Inspiration. I'm Vartika Tyagi from the Hindu Zone, and it's a pleasure to have all of you here today. This webinar is being conducted by the Hindu Zone, a career counseling and guidance platform that provides valuable insights for various competitive exams. We offer guidance through our special guests and mentors. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from our three guests who will share their insights on UPSC success, insights, and inspiration. So, welcome Mr. Ramasundaram, sir, retired IAS officer, Mr. Jithi Lal, and Mr. Prateek Tripathi. Before we begin the webinar, I want to express our gratitude to our knowledge partners, Online Khan Market, Examophobia, Yojna IAS, and Plutus IAS. Today, we aim to address some burning questions that echoes in our mind of every aspirant. So, what does it truly takes to become an IAS officer? We will go deep into this conversation and try to know what being an IAS officer truly requires, covering not only the intellectual side of things, but also the commitment and attitude required to successfully negotiate the challenging UPSC CSE. The eminent panel of speakers will impart their priceless knowledge and techniques that help shape them into the significant individuals they are today. So, without taking any more time, I would like to introduce our first guest, Mr. Ramasundaram, sir, retired IAS officer from 1979 batch. He worked for 31 years in the IAS, including 2 years of masters in applied demography in the University of Southern California, Los Angeles, USA, and 2 years in the World Bank. After retiring from IAS in 2010, he has been in the private sector as MD and CEO, as a president, corporate affairs for 14 years. He will be taking and talking and share his knowledge on cracking the toughest exam in the world, i.e. UPSC, and his IAS journey. Welcome, sir, to our webinar.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
So, next up, we have Mr. Prateek Tripathi, a faculty member of Plutus IAS and a highly respected figure in the UPSC CSE exam preparation community. With over 9 years of teaching experience, he has fully coached numerous aspirants for various competitive exams. Through his mentorship and guidance, he has helped many aspirants fulfill their dreams and excels in UPSC CSE exam. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Tripathi, I'm going to turn it over to you to start the interaction with Mr. Ramasundaram, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. A very good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
First of all, it's a privilege to have you with us to discuss the most prevalent topic to the students. Okay. So my first question is that, sir, as we observe that the trend of UPSC examination has modified, it is changing. And in the recent papers, we see that the trend has shifted towards more and more questions of economy. From economy section and basically the application portion of economy, UPSC is asking questions. So, sir, please share your insight that how should a student prepare for this shift in trend, and how should he equip with himself with the knowledge of economy so that he can score high marks?
Okay, thank you. Before we actually respond to the question, how many people are registered and how many are actually going for the personality test next year? Are any of them there, or they're all in the early stages of preparation for the exam?
So most of them are on the earlier stages of this preparation, and around, let me check, sir, we have a data. So around 15 to 20 students are appearing on 2024 exam. They are going to give their first attempt on 2024 upcoming year.
Anybody who's actually completed the mains and then appearing for the interview in 24?
Sir, we have 5 or 6 students who have registered. They are appearing for interview in their 2024. Yes, sir.
And the total number is?
So they are like 4 or 5 students only.
No, total number of people who are on this webinar now.
Let me check once, sir.
Roughly, you don't have to have the exact number, just a rough number.
So there are 25 to 30 aspirants who are watching it right now. It will increase while the webinar begins.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Just to respond to Mr. Tripathi's point, it's very, very relevant as the service itself is changing, so the exam is also changing. Now, before 1947, it was what is called the ICS during the colonial times. So it was to serve a foreign master. So, and then immediately after the IAS was formed in 1947, and the first batch was 1948. And it had only the one main exam. Our batch was the last of the old system. We didn't have a prelims. 1947 exam to 78 exam was the same pattern. Some general papers and lower papers and higher papers. But the marking was more or less similar. About 1800 for the written exam and about 300 for the interview. Now, also it's very similar. But the nature of the service has changed with the way the world has changed. Now, in the 50s and 60s, there was hardly any globalization. Each country was doing things for itself. So the IAS exam also was dominated by people from colleges like Stephens of Delhi, Presidency College of Calcutta, and Loyola College of Madras those days, now Chennai. Basically, MA History and MA English. You must know how to write notes. So it's just note writing for, not for the people. It was not a people's service. It was a master's service, a government service. In the 70s and 80s, when the government was looking more welfare-oriented, more and more science students started coming in. At least you knew how to read some numbers and read some tables. Note writing was also important, but you also need to understand how some government schemes were functioning. That was the 20-point program of Mrs. Gandhi and all that. So I fall within that period. So I did MSc in chemistry. But after the 90s, when the world truly beginning to become global, and 91 we had the economic liberalization. So we had to be integrated with the world economy. So that required that it doesn't mean, just what happens in India is important. What happens outside is also important. And persistent poverty, despite all the best efforts, we still have poverty. So every government, the main challenge is to eradicate poverty. So for that, you need economic growth. So that is why the emphasis on economy these days, rather than just writing a beautiful English note, which your boss will say, nice note. Those days are over. So how do you meet that challenge in the exam? Now, if you don't have to be an MA economics student, and in any case, most of the candidates now are engineers, which is actually very good. They're even better than scientists science students, because of they know the software to run a program and things. So, but what if you're not one of those engineers? You still there are some people who are arts and science students who get through. It's not as if only engineers get through, though their number is large. So you read the newspapers. In our time till now, the Hindu is a favorite. You have to read cover to cover, and not the online edition. You have to have the physical paper in your hand. And then you have to have, those days we used to take press cuttings and keep it in a file, subject-wise. Now you have the phone, so you can save it in the phone itself, but you must read the original in the print form. Now there is an additional paper from the Hindu group called the Hindu Business Line, which is the economic paper. So I would suggest you subscribe to these two papers physically and read it cover to cover and take copies of important articles on the economy. So that is what a current crop of candidates should do. Yes.
Yes, sir. As we observed this year also, there was the question based on the recent economical affairs. So this knowledge that you shared. I hope it will be very helpful. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So thank you, sirs, for your invaluable insights. So let me now introduce you Mr. Jithi Lal, our last guest. He is a well-regarded Yojna IAS faculty member with over 7 years of experience coaching UPSC candidates. He has assisted numerous candidates in passing the UPSC CAC exam. It is a privilege to have you here with us today, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
I'm excited to hear your question to Mr. Ramasundaram, sir. Please take the lead.
Namaskar, sir. It is an honor to talk with you. So my question is very simple, like very light question. Like the journey of UPSC, the exam pattern itself, it's very challenging because we have 3 stages. So it takes a longer duration compared to other exam. And during this journey of exam, the students might go through various ups and downs. And how to cope up with these challenges and stay motivated to get the desired result.
Yeah, that's, I myself made it only in the 3rd attempt, so I know what it takes. I wrote first when I was 21, when I was in the, still doing my MSc. And I got called only for the IPS interview. That is not possible now. Now you're called for one interview. Depending on your ranking and your choice of services, you may get allotted the service of your choice or some other service. But that time I got called only for IPS interview, and I have a bad eyesight, which is beyond the limit for IPS. So some of my mentors who were senior IAS officers said, don't go for the interview because there is a medical test immediately after the interview. So you'll be medically disqualified. That will affect you even when you go for IAS interview. So I said, I am not ready to accept this. I didn't go for the interview. The second attempt, which I wrote in 77, was when I was teaching in college, same college, Loyola College. I was called for the IAS interview, but I missed IAS itself by 2 marks. And I was a topper in the IPS and central services. So that medical test also went well anyway. Other than IPS, it went through, but I did not join because I wanted to be in the IAS. So then I quit the college job, a teaching job, and then I sat and prepared for a full year for about 16 to 18 hours a day. That's not an exaggeration. So except your sleeping, which is 6 hours, and eating and taking a bath and things, every minute was devoted to studying. Now the difference is, you don't have at that time we didn't have WhatsApp and all those distractions. The TV was barely, maybe 1 hour, one channel, and it's a government news, Krishi Darshan or something like that. So you hardly watch anything, so you were able to concentrate. Nowadays, the distractions are too many for the candidates who are doing. So you have to keep away all the noise. And how seriously you want to, get into the service. If you think you are serious enough to get into the service, you must dedicate, your entire time to your ups and downs may be there, you have to take care of your health. You can't afford to fall ill on the exam day or the interview day. But the focus should be only on the, cracking the exam. If any distraction is there, you won't make it. And in the interviews in this, competition magazines, the successful candidates always, after getting selected, it's always easy to say, I was not even keen to apply. One of my friends applied, I also applied. I didn't take any coaching. I just studied for 3 hours. Every word is a lie. So, you can't get through the IAS exam like that. Right from my time, the toppers always say things like that. It is a very, very hard work is required, total focus. Only then you can make it, and the rewards are worth it. There are about 750 to 1,000 vacancies every year, including all the services. IAS is about 150 to 180. IPS is of the similar number. Foreign services about 25, and the central services. So any of these services, any of these 750 to 1,000 is worth it, because these are the topmost civil services of India, and then irrespective of your family background, you can rise to the top. It's purely merit based. So the exam is merit based. Many other exams may have been compromised at state level, but this one exam still is totally fair and transparent. The marking system is very fair. So there's no way somebody can meddle around with the marking system. So it is worth giving all your time for about 2 or 3 years, but not more than that. Now in the open, it is 6 attempts are allowed. Our time it was only 3 attempts, 21 to 26. Now it is up to 32. But if you take 6 attempts and you still don't make it, then the best years of your youth are gone. Then whatever you had studied in college, to go back to that will become a difficult thing. So I would suggest, if you don't get through in the prelims in 2 attempts, then probably this exam is not for you. But if you get through in the mains, then at least 2 or 3 attempts in the mains is okay. So, because the mains is where the fate is decided, because bulk is in the mains. So there's no separate pass mark or fail mark for interview. So you must know how much work hard to score maximum in the main exam.
So, sir, do you have any more question for sir? You can ask it now.
Yes, ma'am, I have one question. So, as we observe in the mains essay paper, every year one question is from the economy section. Okay, so sometimes it becomes a bit confusing that whether should a student opt for essay economy section, he should write an essay on economy topic, or he should go for some other general topic that is being asked in the question paper. So, sir, what is your insight? What should a student prefer? Whether he should write it on economy or he should write it on some other general topic? What will be more scoring, more rewarding for him?
The scoring is levelized in the UPSC exam. Somebody who's writing a pure art subject also can score very high marks compared to somebody who's taking maths. There's always only maths and quantitative people only will make it. The other arts guys can never make it. So there is some levelization of scoring. So it's for the candidate to decide if economics is, after studying for some time, if you develop an interest in economics and then you have some new ideas which you want to put it in the answer paper, then maybe economics is more scoring. A general subject is a general subject. So you must go for a general subject only if you're not able to understand economic principles at all. So it may be beyond some people. So then there's no point in breaking your head on one subject, because there are other subjects also. But if you have an interest and some understanding of economics, go for economics.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, sir.
It is going to be an enlightening conversation. Thank you for it. So before we move further, sir, I would like to tell everybody that we have more than 100 aspirants who are watching this show right now. So yeah. So, sir, I have some queries for you. I'm very curious about to know, like, for someone considering a career in the IAS, what age would you recommend as the ideal starting point to commence a UPSC preparation based on your experience and your insights?
Since most of the participants in the webinar are in early stage, you must start as early as possible. Now the maximum age, if you're in some special categories, it can go up to 43. Your final attempt can be made when you're 43. So it is from 21 to 43. That's a 22-year span. But the retirement age is not changed. It is 60 for everybody. So if you get selected at the age of 43, maybe you're already married, you have children, and then to go to a subdivision as a subdivisional magistrate, run around the countryside, it'll be very difficult. So, and the career graph is the same for everybody for the first 10 years. You have to be a SDM, you have to be an ADM and then a DM. And then when you move to the state capital or the national capital, then your individual choices and your ability to deliver in those, that comes. But first 10 years is the same. So it is better to start early. I would suggest, even if you're open or in a special category, try to get in before you reach that magic number of 30. Up to 29 will be okay. Our time, in our batch, there are about 7 or 8 people who got selected in the first attempt for 1957 born. So they call this 57ers. Within our group of 79ers, they're called the 57ers because they joined in the first attempt. 21 years when they wrote, 22 when they joined the service. Now that's very, very rare these days. Hardly anybody makes it in the first attempt. Its average age is, kind of trending towards mid to late 20s. But let's not go into the 30s so that you still have a long enough service span. So that's what I would suggest. As early as possible, but try to get selected or look for some other options by the time you're mid or late 20s.
So, sir, what questions can be expected during the final round of the UPSC interview? Could you please share your own interview experience, including the questions you were asked and your responses as well?
I appeared for the interview twice. 1978 May, April or May, it was for the 77 exam, my second attempt. And again, 1979 summer. Very funnily, my marks were about the same in both the interviews. I thought in 1978, my first attempt at the interview, second attempt at the exam, I thought I did very well in my interview, but I got only about 160 out of 300. Those days were 300. Now I believe it is 275 or something. So on then I missed it by 2 marks, as I said. That is because the total 1800 plus 300 out of 2100, my total was not good enough to get into the IAS. But in my third attempt, I could not answer most of the questions. Unfortunately, there was a chemistry professor. That's purely by chance. And I was MSc in chemistry. So she asked me some chemistry questions. By the time, I had moved away from chemistry. So I was into the IAS preparation. It was my mistake. I should have kept in touch with my college subject. And, those who study chemistry, they would know that there is something called a name reaction. The chemical reaction named after the scientist who discovered. So she asked about one name reaction. I couldn't answer. Then she asked for another one. I couldn't answer. Then she said, could you say any name reaction? By the time my mind had gone blank, I said, sorry, I'm now 3 years. She said, but you have taken chemistry as one of the papers. You are teaching chemistry, but you still don't know. The only lesson, I took coaching for both for the exam as well as for the interview. What we were taught, it's an old Rao study circle, and Mr. Rao himself was alive at that time. He said, if you don't know, say that you don't know. Never try to guess. Even if you make a correct guess, they would immediately know that you are just trying to guess your way through. That is not supposed to be a good quality for a future civil servant. So never guess. Unless the board asks you, okay, why don't you make a guess about some knowledge question, not on your subject. Otherwise, guessing, if you don't know, you say don't know. So my second interview, the most successful interview, was the second one, where most of the questions I had said, I don't know. The marks were almost the same, about 160 out of 300. I had specifically mentioned in the sheet which is given just before the interview, what special areas you are interested in. So those days there was something on Africa. So African affairs is what I had written. So the Foreign Service officer was the Indian Foreign Service senior officer who was on the panel. He said, since you have written African affairs, I'm sure you know everything about Africa. I'm not going to ask you about Africa. So the one subject I had prepared very well, also nobody asked anything. So these things can happen. So you have to be very, very careful how to react. You can't say, no, I'm prepared. Please ask me some questions on Africa because I'm well prepared. They didn't ask me anything. So then they asked some general questions about the country and north and south, these things like that, which I was of course able to answer truthfully. But my written marks were very high because I had studied for the written sitting at home. So I got All India 17th rank. So the focus should be, including those 4 or 5 who are going for the interview, Don't prepare too hard for the interview, because you can't do much about it, and it's only 275. If you have attempts left, you start preparing for the next attempt. So you must try to improve your main written score. That is where the trick lies. And for all the others who are in the earlier stage of preparation, focus on getting through the prelims and the mains with a high mark. The interview is okay, you just be truthful, that's all. In fact, the letter says that I think the format of the letter has still not changed in all these, 50 years. It says this is not a test of your knowledge, which has already been tested in the exam. This is a personality test. It's not an interview, actually. So they still keep that. I have never been on the other side of the table as a UPSC panelist in the interview because I was in the private sector for the last 14 years. But my wife, who's a retired IPS officer, she has been on the panel. So she also says the same. The questions are very similar, except that she says the candidates are looking older and older, which they find very big concern.
So as we all know that while preparing for UPSC, there's a lot of struggles and a lot of challenges. What challenges and problem did you face at your time during your UPSC preparation journey? Can you please enlighten our viewers about it?
In our time and now, recently the former director of the academy, who was there till recently, Mr. Srinivas Kakitala, is an IAS officer from originally from Andhra, but from Gujarat Cadre. Now, our batch very frequently has its reunion in the academy itself. The Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy in Mussoorie. We have been there now 4 times. The last time was June of this year. So, and we met the probationers and all that. One of the points, data point which he mentioned to us, is how the candidate profile has changed. In the 70s, when he's from 88 or 89 batch, it's already quite a time away from us. But during our time, it was from about 6 or 7 states, 90% of the successful candidates from 6 or 7 states and from 6 or 7 colleges only. In which families, there were already somebody in the IAS, all privileged families. That is not the case now. Now, he says the candidates come from about 100 colleges all over India and all the states. It is not just 6-7 states and 6-7 colleges. It is now the whole of India and about 100 institutions. It's not just the St. Stephen's and the Loyola and IITs. Very, very, very little known colleges. So it is the candidates who may not have a civil service background. By sheer determination and working hard and guided by our panelists here, they are able to make it. So that was not the case in our time. So in my case, the struggle was not the physical struggle. It was a struggle with your own mind, how much time you want to give. Now, I know in Delhi's Mukherjee Nagar and that area, there are 6 people to a room, working hard. And they're not from privileged families. So that I would think is a challenge which they're going through to get into the service. That is a challenge. So, that and it is worth it, is what I'm saying.
So, Mr. Jithi Lal, do you have any questions?
Yeah. So my second question is, when you joined into the service in 1979, ethics was not a subject, but the board introduced ethics as a subject in 2013, and some students feel it as a burden. But has the administration got benefited with the introduction of this subject?
Whether the subject was not there at all during the training in the academy, the conduct of an officer, which is what the ethics is all about, is very strongly inculcated in the curriculum. So because you are representing the government to the people, especially in the first 10 years where your interface is directly with the common people. As you go up, say when I was working with the World Bank, it's a different, kind of atmosphere altogether. You have no people contact. You're only, behind the screen, devising a program for the country. But the first 10 years is what molds you as an officer, where you actually see, how poor people are and how, despite all other things, so much more needs to be done. So ethics is a good thing because that is what, people have a big expectation from IAS officers. So despite, many of the problems now in the country, probably, we have all worked 30 years, 40 years, the problem persists. Either it's a failure of batches like ours, or maybe partly created by us. But people still have faith in the IAS because successive batches in the field, they're accessible. If there is a mob, there is a fight between two communities, you are still able to go inside and pacify. Nobody will touch an IAS officer, if there is a riot. So DM sahab aage, sare ruk jao. So they may restart the riot after you go, but for this thing, that respect is still there, despite all the difficulties the country and the people are facing. So ethics is important.
So we have some online aspirants who have who joined us and asked some questions. So the first question is like, sir, how can one overcome the thoughts of I can't while preparing for the UPSC?
The only word opposite of I can't is I want. I want to become an IAS officer. That's the only word which can counter your I can't. So you must want the service so badly. The word can't is not in your vocabulary itself.
So someone is asking, how can we make ourselves calm during the preparation? It's very tough because.
I don't know what they mean by calm. You have to be totally focused. You just have to keep studying. And now with many of the coachings being online and the main exam is in longhand, you have to keep writing notes also in longhand. Otherwise, suddenly you find that your hand is not moving. There is some people have told me that, they have done all this in the coaching centers very well because they didn't do enough of writing in hand practice. When the exam comes, your hand, takes first 15-20 minutes, it doesn't move. And that can cost you your selection. Because there is no pass mark, fail mark for any paper. It is in the main exam, are you in the top? What can cost you that you have to keep practicing.
So the next question is like, please put some lights on NCERT importance in UPSC and CSC exams.
For the general studies, nothing to beat NCERT. From my time to now, those are the best books because they are very simple concepts of, geography, history, and things like that. And unless you're taking a history optional, how do you know, exactly what happened in the Mughal period or the British period? So you must read NCERT books, especially those from, I think, 6th to 10th is what we used to read, and even now I think they're very relevant. And there are, of course, additional guides which are more tuned to based on actual questions. Those also one should read.
So there another aspirant who is asking like, how to choose an optional subjects? What are the parameters?
See, now optional subjects numbers are reduced, general subjects. So you must choose what you studied in college, or what it is, if it is another optional which you can study by yourself, something on which books and coaching are available. Because that is one point I wanted to come back to. Very often people ask, can this exam be done by self-study? You cannot. The simple answer is you cannot. This is very, very different from any other kind of exam in the world. Only an experienced, coaching institute with, the teachers like our friends here will be able to guide. It is unlike any other exam in the world. So you can't You may figure out after 3 or 4 attempts that this exam is different. But by the time you wasted your time and your age is gone. So the best thing is to join a coaching if possible.
So as you are
selection, but coaching tells you how different this exam is and then how to study for it.
So as you're saying that it is sometimes it depends on coaching. One aspirant is asking about the role of coaching versus self-study in UPSC preparation.
Which is what I answered just now.
Yeah. So it is a portion where we should start doing self-study, and there is some guidance.
Self-study is what your NCRT, you're reading the Hindu and the Hindu business line. Those are all part of self-study. But the pattern of the exam itself, how to prepare for the prelims, how to prepare for the mains, that only a coaching institute can tell you. Then after that, generally you are studying in any case.
Sir, the most asked question from our aspirant is role of newspaper in UPSC preparation.
Yeah, I said you must read the hard copy of a newspaper every day, the Hindu, and also Hindu business line. Now, in the service, it's very useful. So my wife and I, even now, we read 8 newspapers a day. So we are not facing any exam. 4 business papers: Economic Times, Hindu Business Line, Business Standard, and Mint. And then 2 general newspapers, Indian Express and Times of India. So that makes it 6. And she reads 1 Hindi newspaper because she is from UP. And I read 1 Tamil newspaper to get our local news from our state, though we both worked in Tamil Nadu only. So we read about 8 newspapers. And then nowadays to exchange your news items, you have a phone camera. So you take a phone and then, when I was working full-time in Renew Power, there are a lot of renewable energy articles. So I used to take photos and then, sometimes underline specific portions of the article so that people catch those points. Earlier, whatever was being done as a press cutting, it is now a screenshot. Only the technology has changed, but the source and the importance has not changed. So newspaper reading and then making points, underlining, and sometimes even making your own notes on some issues, editorials. For example, the Arab-Israeli conflict. Each paper gives a different, editorial. So you keep the editorials together and then try to arrive at what are the newspapers saying. So newspapers are, 100%. I can't overemphasize that.
That is, so next question is, it is often said that the Hindi medium students do not get selected as much as English medium students get selected. So in my mind, I would like to know from you, what do you say about it? Someone is asking it.
There is, from the examiner's side, I don't think there is a bias against any particular language basis. The drawback could be the coachings available and also the books available for vernacular mediums or regional languages. They used to be called vernacular nowadays. Now it's called regional languages. So the shortage of resources could be a reason. I don't think there is any bias from the examiner's side.
So thank you for sharing your journey and knowledge, sir. It was great listening to you. I'm sure our viewers enjoyed it too. So as we near to the end, I want to thank our special guest, Mr. Ramasundaram, sir, Mr. Prateek Tripathi, and Mr. Jithi Lal for sharing their valuable insights. I hope our talk inspired you and show you what it takes to be an IAS officer. Best of luck with your goals. Stay inspired and thank you so much.
Thank you, Matika. You handled it very well.
Thank you so much, sir.
Kept to the time. Thank you very much. All the best, candidates.
So you want to say anything more to our candidates?
The only word is, I can say it is worth sacrificing 2 or 3 years of your entertainment, your outside other interests, this and that, your social media, everything keep aside because there is enough time after that. But this is a very, very precious time if you are keen on the IAS exam or IFS, IAS, IRS or IPS. But the rewards are worth it. There is no other service like this in the world which offers you, such variety of positions. And compared to our time now, the service conditions in terms of salary and all have improved much better. So it is worth sacrificing your other interests and keep them aside for 2 or 3 years maximum. I wouldn't want anybody to spend more than 2 or 3 years. So put everything you have, in those 2 or 3 years to get through.
So best of luck, aspirants. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been an honor to be here with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So signing off.